People, Deluded, I'm back again. Hopefully I've actually pressed the button on this camera and we've started recording. But I made a video about Denis Suarez and his, apologies people, 1 second. Yeah, I made a video about Denis Suarez in relation to why it didn't work, why it didn't work out for him at Arsenal, folks. And he offered a lot. Obviously, the short of it was he wasn't fit. But he did speak about his injury, and I think most Arsenal fans, we knew he had an injury coming into the club. We knew he obviously suffered an injury during this time at the club, which really made his time at the club just not successful, because he wasn't able to play. But he did say something which was interesting, people, and he said in relation to his injury, people, he said this is a quote, and this is speaking about injuries and stuff. He said, "This is not the reality, it was the opposite. In England it is different. In Spain, when you have an injury or a problem, the club puts out a statement for the press. In England it's very different. Injuries seem more like a secret, there's more mystery. I was the first to be desperate to play. Unai and I had lots of discussions about how much I could play, but he could see himself I was not right and was pushing myself." And it's that statement, people, and I do think us fans, you ask most fans, they would like to know. I'm sure many fans, like, take Hector there's many examples. Look at Paul Pogba at United. Every week you're hearing, he's doing basketball, or he's eating ice cream with his family members. He doesn't care. He's not fully fit. He's blah blah blah. I'm not saying you can't believe that. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not getting into this about Paul Pogba. What I mean is that if we knew the true severity of his injury and actually why it's taking long, then maybe most fans would back off him. And also it's different, and it's not for the club. But in Pogba's case, you hear a lot of concerns about Manchester United's medical department and his reluctance over certain things. So maybe if we knew certain things, or if agents and things could share more light, people would change. But specific to football matters, if people knew the severity and truly what's going through with injuries in Pogba, people might allow it. Ozil is someone medically many people made their minds up about Ozil, but it is a fact he does have, I can't remember the term, but he does have that serious virus sort of problem, sort of infection thing with his immune system, with making him more susceptible to colds and stuff. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know it, but it's medically proven. And he also has a medically proven bad back as well. He's got an actual issue with that. If most fans knew the severity of these things, they might just allow it sometimes. Hector Bellerin, I myself, people, I've not, taken it over the top with any criticism of Hector Bellerin, but I've sat in my videos and said, Bellerin's not improving as much as he should. He's not really looking the same, this and that. And I still maintain a lot of that, because at the end of the day, I'm seeing a man come back from his injury, and we are discounting the fact that he's come back from injury, and we're seeing a bit of inconsistencies. But then it came out the other week that, he's playing through the pain barrier and he's not really been fully fit, sort of thing. So we're looking at it a bit differently. Do you get it? Again, same logic with Holding. Holding's obviously had a knock, people, but he's not been playing to any substantial amount of playing time at Arsenal. He's even on the bench. You're hearing Arteta wants to take his time with him. If we found out a bit more of these things, I'm not saying we have to do it like how Spain's doing it, but maybe fans would allow it. And maybe that's an avenue for clubs to look at, to allow fans really and truly. Because in England, it is a bit of a mystery, and there is cultural problems. It's like the biggest league in the world, for whatever reason, you don't really see open training sessions and that. I know off the top, I don't know if any other teams doing it, but I know Arsenal do it and have done it, but it's normally at the Emirates, sort of ticketed event, and Spurs have done it at White Hart Lane. At Germany, regular occurrence to see fans and people not joining in, but at open training sessions. I do think, I'm not too sure that would work in England, but I do think there's something to be done with sort of more access and things, so people would understand things. Of course, I'm not too sure saying all of this. If I was a manager, and I'm saying what I just said now, if I was a manager, I'm not too sure I would want the fans or everybody to know the full injury status of my players, because I might be playing coy. I might be playing, let's just say I'm the City and we're challenging for the league against Liverpool, sort of thing, and I've got a player that's, I've got Liverpool, sorry, in a couple of weeks, and my player's out for a couple of weeks. Actually, it's to be longer. Now, our rivals might be planning for X-player to be involved. They might be saying, he's going to be playing in midfield, so let's do this, let's do that. If I play a bit coy and act like he's going to play, but on a match day I flip it and he's not, in the week I run it and say, yeah, he's going to play, he's this and that, he's back from his injury, he's starting, and I play up a bit in my press conference, but I flip the script and he doesn't play. Or equally, I say he's not playing and he randomly pops through and comes through and plays. people are going to look, you know, you might have the upper hand over a manager, over a rival and things. So you don't really want to play every ace in your pack. And I'm crap at card games, but whatever, in any correct cards on your deck. So a lot of that, I'd be a bit sneaky in that regards, people. But I do think it would save certain players. Obviously, you're going to get illogical people. People are going to talk. People are going to comment. People are going to have something to say regardless. But I genuinely feel, not just necessarily with this, when you hear, and it's a bit different because I don't really feel everybody dirty business should be, not necessarily dirty business, but everyone's skeletons, everybody's family business, everybody's sort of things that's on a need to know basis. I don't think it should be up there, innit? But and while it hasn't come out in specifics about Lingard still faces criticism, but people understand what he was going through, sort of thing, to a degree. Aaron Lennon at Burnley, people were questioning, why isn't he playing, why isn't he about? Sad, or was it at Everton? I can't remember the period, but it then came out that sadly he was suffering a bit mentally. He wasn't in the right place. People then start to think differently and stuff. And again, I don't necessarily feel players should always come out and say these things, but I do think it would help. Like, and I did remember coming on Twitter, going on Twitter a few days ago. I can't remember what was true, but I think Cech was speaking in some domain about his time at Chelsea, and I think he said, don't quote me because I could be wrong, but he said something. I think I saw the first 2 years of Chelsea, I was suffering with a dislocated shoulder or broken shoulder, or it was the first year or something like that. Either way, he was playing through the pain barrier that fans didn't know about. And yeah, it's great and it's commendable, and we're like, yeah, it's a madness, and it's great when they're still dominating. But if fans knew, could we save people from themselves? Or it's all good doing that when you're playing well, because when you're playing well, you know, he's putting himself through the pain barrier. When you're playing bad, why is he here? And he's not fully fit. And maybe that will put more pressure on managers and clubs, but I do think that's being more open or transparent about certain things. I do think the British game misses it and misses the dialogue, and that's one thing I think's been a blessing in this coronavirus. You're going to see a lot of interviews at homes. Of course you're seeing that. I'm not saying that's new, but you know, you're seeing more in-depth interviews. Even the little things Ian Wright's doing with players, or Thierry Henry's done with players, and Don EE, the rapper, has done with, you know, Akpom and things. You're getting more insight into things. Oh gosh. Why did that come on? So apologies, people. You're getting more. You're simply getting more insight into things, and I think that's the next step for football. It's all fun and games. Football stadiums having fancy glasses where people that can afford it, which typically aren't many football fans, go in and seeing the players walk down the tunnel. You can have as much Amazon documentaries, behind the scenes access, and that's another avenue. I think every team is going to have exclusive, purely standalone content, maybe even a subscription service. I think that's the next step. You can have all of that, but at fan level, nothing changes. You know, real transparent answers and questions in terms of player statuses and things like that. So maybe that's an avenue to go down. Not too sure. It will be one that's explored, but I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of it. On that note, it's always a pleasure speaking to you lot. People, DG, I'm out.